because I think my next guest is one of the great football writers ever, beginning covering the Alex Karras Lions all the way to the modern day Jacksonville Jaguars. The man has covered everyone from the Pittsburgh Steelers and their dynasty years to the Washington Redskins and the Hogs to when the Baltimore Colts moved to Indianapolis and the Fran Tarkenton Giants. I have read him all my life. I think he's great. Vito Stellino. VitoStellino.com is where you can read his current takes. Ricky Bilson said, watch out for the Chargers this year at the start of the year. What was it that you saw in the Chargers this year playing in a soccer stadium in front of opposing fans that said this could be a team to beat in the NFL this year?
Well, they just missed the playoffs last year. But they lost the tiebreaker, so they've got to go the wild card route. So, although for them, since they don't have much of a home field advantage, being on the road may not be that big a problem.
Yeah, I've thought about that myself, but you still got to win the one extra game. And I just have a feeling that the Super Bowl participants this year, Vito, are going to come from the bye teams. I love the Bears defense, but going on a road back-to-back winning games, if they get past the Eagles, boy, that's tough. Chargers, okay, I could see them being.
I think the Chargers are the only one. Or the Colts, are ready for that type of thing. Actually, getting back Baltimore might be the Chargers' big challenge. In fact, I would say the two teams I'd watch out for playing this weekend in the AFC are Baltimore and the Chargers. And since they're playing each other, I think that's a very big game. I don't think either the Texans or the Colts are quite ready to make that leap.
And plus, it seems as if the Texans and Colts, when it comes to the postseason, even when Peyton Manning was behind center for the Indianapolis 11, it seemed like they were always jinxed. I know there was the Super Bowl in 2006 and coming from behind against the Patriots in the AFC title game and all that, but so often it just seemed like I'm not ready to write it off just yet, though. Even if they do lack a bit of a pass rush, can the Patriots tie the Steelers this year for the all-time record for Super Bowl victories? I mean, do you see them as a real viable candidate to win the Super Bowl?
Well, the thing about funny is that Tom Brady reached out with $5 million in 5 different categories. So, how are they going to play in the playoffs? In the city, I just think they have to be a little concerned about Brady. That for the first time, it looks like his incentives, $5 million on the line. Of course, to me, the Patriots should give him the money anyway, but for past services. But I think it's really fascinating.
It's not so long ago that I'm thinking, he's totally past his prime. And I saw Peyton Manning win a Super Bowl with guile. I got to think it's possible for Tom Brady. Who do you like in the NFC? It seems like the Chargers.
I think it'd be a great story for Foles to win Super Bowls back-to-back and a backup. I mean, there's only been like 3 backups that won the championship even before this. Tobin wrote when Bobby Lane was hurt, and of course Hostetler, and
Earl Morrow.
I just think they said a good story, but I got to pick fans, and then they play indoors at the Super Bowl too, so they really got to pass. An indoor team will not have to play outside, so they'll go someplace like. So I think that the table is set for the Saints, and we'll just see how they do.
One thing when I look at these playoffs, I hear a lot of criticism of Mitch Trubisky. they're being said, well, are they Drew Brees? Well, no, they don't have as many, if I can use a Bill Parcells term, pelts as Brees does, but how many quarterbacks can, there's something missing with Prescott and Trubisky going forward.
I definitely think there's something missing with Prescott. I'm not sold on him being a really great franchise quarterback. Trubisky, still, I think the Bears should have taken Mahomes. They had a first crack, and I think they made a huge mistake in not taking him. I mean, he's the guy that looks like a once-in-a-generation player, and for his second season and what he's done, it's absolutely amazing. So, but right now, Trubisky, kind of remains a question mark, and we'll just have to kind of wait and see.
A couple of years ago, but I mean, until the Cowboys made the trade with the Raiders, he really was down in receiving.
Well, I just don't think he's consistent enough.
Okay.
When Elliott went out, he had a chance to lift the team on his shoulders. He didn't do it. That's my take on him. I just think he has to show that he can keep doing it. I mean, maybe he will. He's still young. He's still got a chance. But he didn't really step up when Elliott was suspended. So I think that's a red flag. So we just have to wait and see.
We're talking to Vito Stellino of VitoStellino.com. I grew up reading this gentleman. I think one of the great, if not the great, football writers ever. I mean, along with the Paul Zimmermans and, who else would you consider to be great football writers? I mean, in Pittsburgh, and of course we had such pride of our football writers in Pittsburgh. There was Ed Bouchette and even Len Pasquarelli, I thought, down in Atlanta, was a great writer. Column you wrote in the Sporting News years ago about the stadium game, explaining franchise relocation and always thinking afterwards that it stunk. But that's something, I guess, we said that you don't think at this current time a pro team in London is practical, but yet there is some talk that might be the Raiders next year. There's this talk about 4 at home, 4 on the road, 4 at home, 4 on the road. Have you heard anything about that, or is that just blowing steam for the Raiders to, try to, I don't know, get a better deal from an American stadium?
Yeah, I think it'd be difficult for them to play, that many games. In London. I mean, actually, I'd like to see it happen because I think, I'd love to see them play the whole season in London and see how they were supported then. Mm-hmm. Right now, they always trumpet, they get these great crowds and everything, but, it's like more of a socially band. It's not like rooting for, like entertainment,
Yeah.
Almost, I would say it's like the extra pay this whole year, and but you don't have that. You don't know anyway that you have that. And if you look, go to SkySports.com.
Sure.
You got ESPN of London. The NFL is really on the first page. It's all about soccer, and and the newspapers, even when they play the games over there, they don't get great, great coverage. So I think this whole idea of, franchise moving there, I think logistically and all that, I just don't see it working. But,
Yeah.
It's such a mismanaged franchise. It's just hard to figure out what they're going to do, So, but I just hope the 49ers don't agree to put on, not protect in their stadium. It might be hard to do that in that time. But yeah, there's been talk about London to the Raiders.
Raiders moving Oakland, period. I actually went
Yeah,
out
no,
there.
I agree, but that's, I think that ship has sailed. Also, I'm very curious how they're going to be supported in Las Vegas. Las Vegas has a lot of low-paying casino jobs. A lot of those jobs don't pay that much money,
Yeah.
And then they have the corporate presence that the NFL team likes to have to buy all those luxury seats. And I don't see that. If you go to Las Vegas for a vacation, you want to go to the shows in Vegas and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So I don't think the support may be quite what they think it's going to be. But again, we'll have to wait and see how it all shakes out.
Well, Vito Stellino of VitoStellino.com, my comment on that whole thing is this. I mean, when you think of the Raiders, I mean, you think of a lot of, hardcore music. I mean, they were on the rap scene, or Metallica would play Dave Mustaine of Megadeth is a big Raiders fan. I know that the team of gangster rap and heavy metal, and, well, they're not going to become the team of Steve and Edie. That's not a good trade. I'm sorry. And I hope you're not Stephen Edie's biggest fan, Vito Stellino, but I think you get the point that I'm making, and that I think that might be kind of intriguing. I mean, it's something that the NFL that we grew up with would never have wanted, but we are getting to modern times. In Tennessee, they are proposing a sports wagering bill is on the table, but the way it would go is not necessarily in casinos, but rather in sports bars. You could go bet on the games or what have you in the future, being able to bet on the games in Vegas right there at the stadium. I mean, over and under on what the quarter. Imagine kiosks like that, maybe even at every seat. I mean, who knows? That might be the future in 5-10 years. You don't know. It's an idea. I could get people to go to the games right there, if worse came to worse. We're talking to Vito Stellino of VitoStellino.com, formerly Florida Times-Union, Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, Washington Post, just sporting news, just a tremendous background for Vito as a writer. I do want to ask you this. I just saw it came over that Joey Porter was fired as linebackers coach with the Steelers. They had a huge collapse. What went wrong there? What do you think to solve that disarray, if that disarray is going to get?
Well, it's going to be interesting. Obviously, I think Mike Tomlin has to get things buttoned down. Of course, as you remember, 1977. The season opened, the training camp opened, Chuck Noble Jefferson was defending himself against slander charges that Al Davis cooked up from the criminal element comment, Blunt and Lambert holding out, and they had all kinds of problems during the season. They lost first home game to Denver, playoff game in Denver, and we thought, oh man, at the end of the year, it was all distractions, most often distractions, and we'll be fine. And 1978 happened to be the year that they changed the rule outlawing the bump and run, which was very effective for the, in their first two Super Bowl wins. But they also had bad flying stalwarts, so they quickly, and the defense started to get a little old, and then they won two more, basically with a passing game. So they bounced back from that distraction to 77. Now, whether this team will or not, I just don't know. But I think Mike Tomlin has to get things a little more, under control than they have seemed to be. The way they do is, well, it looks like Lamar Bell is gone. Maybe they just should have traded him or something, instead of the whole thing fester, It'll be very, very interesting to watch, how they come back from that. It's just going to be a lingering thing, or can they, they were 7-2-1 at one point,
Yeah.
and the whole thing fell apart. So, I think they're a key to watch in the offseason, just to see how they're going to handle it.
Well, let's, so many questions to ask Vito Stellino at VitoStellino.com, but one right here comes to mind. You covered the Steelers of that era. Mel Blount once sued Chuck Noll, and then he played for him for what, another 6-7 years. How did that get all resolved? I mean, your player suing coach, first of all, why did Mel...
It was just well, because the Raiders made their Mary Poppins for sorts of films, and so the lawyer, Willie Brown, who happened to later become the mayor of San Francisco, he said, well, look at this play, is that part of the criminal element, isn't that the same, and so I think at one point Noel had conceded that, okay, that's criminal or whatever. So anyway, so then Blunt used that to sue, but that was just an agent thing to stir the pot and all that. But again, it was part of the whole distraction deal. And the Blunt and Lambert, back in those days, although he saved his money and has lived very comfortably on that, his pension from the NFL. But yeah, they just got things buttoned down and know whether they can do it again. Also, I remember before that, L.C. Greenwood signed with the USFL but never played because the league collapsed before it happened. So even when teams are successful, you have bumps in the road. And, well, the Steelers have had a long run. I mean, you just wonder, they haven't fired a coach. Next year will be 50 years since they hired Chuck Noll. If it's three coaches that haven't fired one in 50 years, I mean, that may be. So, control that gets it back. The standards are pretty high. They don't have a quarterback in the future. To me, that may be a bigger problem than all this kind of stuff, So, again, we'll just have to see how they handle it.
Yeah, L.C. Greenwood, you mentioned this 1974 World Football League. I've always heard Myron Cope told the story of Joe Green actually talked to him and said, hey, look, we've got a chance to do something really big, and sort of coerced him to come back from the offer from the Birmingham Americans, I think it was, and they changed to the Vulcans later on right there. And then L.C. Greenwood went out and bought a house in 1975 in Pittsburgh. There you go. So anyway, but did you ever ask when you were covering the Steelers back then? I mean, sort of, and because why would you fire Chuck Noll when he's winning Super Bowls? When we hire a coach, we hire a coach. Did you ever talk to the Rooneys about that?
Well, I mean, the funny thing was when Noll, he originally signed a 3-year contract, and after the second year, they announced he had signed an extension. They didn't say, well, how long it was. And that was the last time. The guy coached 23 years. They never made another comment about his coaching status. If you ask about it, the comment was, he's not in his last year, so there's nothing to talk about. They always made sure they kept extending him. And, of course, Chuck, he lived in the same house 20 then when he arrived. I think he got $35,000 a year, $8 million. And so, yeah, I mean, it was just never a question, that's, but they believed in his ability, but he was so successful that there was a little rough patch when they fired Rooney Jr., which was difficult for Dan to do, firing his own brother. But, it's, and finally, Chuck just quit on his own, he decided his time was up. So, so it was never really an issue because they just always made sure they extended themselves. So there was never any chatter, is Chuck Noll going to stay, that type of thing. He never coached. After 3 losing seasons in 72 when he hired, we probably got a win this year. I mean, you have to understand that unless it's guaranteed. And, but of course, that was the year they drafted Franco, who again, Noel wanted to Robert Newhouse, when he talked him into Franco on the good big man theory.
Well, you mentioned Bud Carson with the Steelers. He got his first college coaching job at Georgia Tech. He replaced John Robert Bell, who had just taken the head coaching position at East Tennessee State here. So that's how we're talking to Vito Stellino. Vito's just...
What's wrong with the Packers?
Yes. He thinks they should be winning more.
They dropped well in recent years, and they relied too much on Aaron Rodgers to cover up all the other mistakes. And this year, whether he's been hurt or whether he's slowing down, he just wasn't the same. And they're paying the price. So you got to keep. And also, the former general manager was not into bringing in free agents. I'm not a big free agency guy, but sometimes you need them to kind of supplement, positions. And then, you miss on too many draft picks. You draft late.
Is Eli Manning going to be the Jaguars?
I have no idea.
I'm trying to kill two birds with one stone with that question, Vito Stellino.
There's a little golf connection there, but we don't know what the Giants do. He wants to stay in New York, and the Giants keep him, then he's not going to be the Jaguar coach. When he hit the market, would he want to go to the Jaguars, or they have a lot of issues themselves, or would another team be more attractive? Who knows? So again, we just have to wait and see about that.
Okay, now let's talk a little Hall of Fame. We're talking to Vito Stellino, VitoStellino.com, and here we go. The finalists were announced yesterday. Edgerrin James, Tony Gonzalez, Ed Reed, Kevin Mulway, Alan Faneca, Richard Seymour, Tom Flores, Don Coryell, Tony Baselli, who you knew from the Jaguars, and Steve Hutchinson. Of those 15 names, who really stands out for you? You're a voter. Which one was the one that just stood out to you as a potential voter?
Well, I don't necessarily agree with it, but there's become a thing about first ballot Hall of Famers. The guy make it on the first ballot, although the Hall of Fame, it makes no distinction if you're in if you get your first year, or your fifth year, or your 10th year. But of course, T.O. made a big issue out of that he was insulted he wasn't the first year. If you notice, Jason Taylor made it his first time 2 years ago. The same player as far as stats and stuff. So the voters, if they do that, then Reed, Bailey, and Gonzalez, if they all get in, then there's only 2 spots for the other 12 people. So I think they're all Hall of Famers. They will get in, whether they have to get in, to me, the first ballot Hall of Famer is Walter Payton, Brown, that type of thing. I don't know whether these guys are quite to that level, but again, there seems to be this growing thing about, the guy comes up, he's the first ballot guy, and then the guys that have made it before get shoved back. That's Rudy Baselli, for example. So, but I would not be surprised if those 3 get in, and then the other 2 is anybody's guess. I probably don't prejudice. I think, for 5 years, Baselli was the best left tackle in the league. He was the best run blocker, best pass blocker. He had a short career, but he had more games. And I think there are something like more than 20 guys in the Hall of Fame who played less than 100 games. So I think he should get in, but no one's ever spoken up against him. But the short career thing obviously hurts him. And I couldn't see him, but I would not be surprised if those first 3 get in. If they get in, then it's a free-for-all for the other positions. Atwater's been up for, many, many years. It would be certainly a try to put him in, and there's several other very good candidates, so have to wait and see. But I think those 3 guys are in the best position to get in this year.
So look at the first ballot.
The voters are voting now. I necessarily would not agree to put them all 3 in, but we'll have to wait and see.
And so the first ballot guys, and then you like I mean, Baselli stands out to me as well, and it's just sort of, you know, how do you grade a lineman when you're voting for the Hall of Fame? It's not like you can look at their batting average or whatever. I should ask that. How do the voters grade an offensive lineman for Hall of Fame induction?
They talk to coaches, they talk to defensive players that played against them, and they do have stats. Like, I think
Sure.
Baselli only gave up 14 to 15 sacks in 7 years. I mean, that's like...
For a left tackle, that's amazing.
Season,
yeah.
You know, 1 sack every 5 or 6 games. So I think that's a very telling stat. But again, you know, we watch these guys play too. I mean, that's, you know, that's a factor. What do your eyes tell you? And you know, your eyes told you that John Hanna was a great lineman, that Anthony Munoz was, that type of thing. So but it's not as clear cut as with you know, wide receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, you know, because they have more stats. Which
Sure.
Somewhat may be overrated because the guy can do a lot of sacks, but maybe he wasn't that good against the run, that type of thing. So
sort of Mark Gastineau, then, you know, that sort of thing. Yeah. We're talking Vito Stellino, VitoStellino.com. Yeah, just looking over such memories here that you get. I remember when the Steelers drafted Alan Faneca. I was at a Pirates game and they put it up on the scoreboard. You know, I was like, oh wow, you know. But I would also, so you've mentioned the first ballot Hall of Fame possibilities. I would, though, say for Jason Witten, who is from the Tri-Cities, if he is to become a first ballot Hall of Famer, and the locals here would all like to see that, Tony Gonzalez has got to make it this year, because I think it was you that told me there's never been a first ballot Hall of Famer who's been a tight end. And I mean, it took years and years for Mike Ditka to get in, and for that matter, John Mackey as well from the old days, but Gonzalez would have to set the precedence. I would say Jason Witten is from this area. Fans around here, Vito Stellino, want him to be a first ballot Hall of Famer when the time comes. I would suggest that it is therefore imperative for Tony Gonzalez to make it this year in his first year, if that is to happen for Jason Witten.
That's probably a good point. Yeah, so
we're already looking ahead. Yeah, yeah.
But sometimes, you know, apples to oranges type of thing. You can't always say, well, this happens, so that's going to happen type of thing. But it would certainly be a sign in that direction.
All right, so let's ask the final big question: who's going to go to the Super Bowl?
New Orleans and the NFC. Oh man, you know, I think one of 3 teams in the AFC: the Chiefs, Patriots, and Ravens. I think one of those 3 will make it. I think it's very tough to figure. Hard to go against Patriots because of this time of year.
Yeah, I got that. Yeah, so I can see that. Yeah, Saints are either Chiefs or Patriots and all this. And do you think it's the Saints Lombardi Trophy to lose?
The Saints
is it the Saints Lombardi Trophy to lose?
I would say the Saints are the favorite to win it all. Yeah, they're going to be indoors. They're an indoor team. They're very good. They're a great quarterback. They can run. Defense okay, and they're not going to have any weather problems. So I favor them on whoever. I think they're better. They got a better shot than any of the 3 teams that are likely to make it for the AFC.
My goodness, you think about all the times that Vito Stellino has covered the NFL. My goodness, he can remember and covered the NFL when the Cleveland Browns were a great glamour team with Jim Brown and winning the NFL championship in '64. And for that matter, can also remember when the Saints were the laughing stock that could never have a winning season and would go 1-15. And now look at the NFL in 2019. But he's been there all the way. Vito Stellino, one of the great writers. He'll be voting on the Hall of Fame, and you'll Tri-City Sports now coming back. Vols offensive. Okay.